Hello and welcome to the 2021 Mr. Benchwork Christmas Guide for your favorite model railroader. So getting started here, on every single one of my videos now, I have a link. It's down here. It's going to be just underneath the video. It's amazon.com/Mr. Benchwork. Now what this is my affiliate link. And I have a store on Amazon. I have curated a bunch of different stuff for you. The idea here is when you're watching one of my videos, you can find things that I'm talking about, find the tools that I use, that sort of thing. But what we're going to talk about today is actually going to be the how-to books that I recommend and then your Christmas favorites. Now, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we'll go ahead and start in by far the simplest solution to save yourself a lot of headaches if you really genuinely do not know what to buy the person is just get them a gift card. So Amazon gift cards, they don't cost you a penny more than what you're putting on them. They come in multiple denominations and they actually come in these pretty cool little gift boxes too now. So you can spice it up a little bit. It makes a great stocking stuffer. But a little better than that is going to be a t-shirt. And the cool thing about t-shirts is they come in multiple colors. They all run about $20. And the best part of it is they come in men's, women's, and in a lot of cases they come in children's sizes as well. So this one is really a universal gift that you can get your favorite model railroader without having much excuse or gripe from them. They're going to enjoy it. They're going to wear it to their favorite train show. They're going to have fun wearing it around the house. They're going to enjoy the little jokes that come along with them and that sort of thing. The third thing I wanted to cover for your vertically challenged young kiddos and your older model railroaders who have a hard time reaching far back spots is step stools and creepers. Now these come in a variety of flavors, but the beauty of these little folding step stools that I'm showing you is not only are they affordable, at $13 or about $50 for the other one, they fold up. So your younger model railroaders are going to be able to carry this around at grandpa's train layout or at the local train show, and they've got themselves a little step up so they can see a little better. And then your older model railroaders, whether that be your wife or your son or yourself even, they're going to be able to get a step up and see a little further on the layout. They're going to be able to reach a little further for when they're putting in trees and scenery, that sort of thing. Now, if your model railroader has a big layout, something that's really, really deep, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to help them do some modeling, you can actually look at a topside. It's for automotive, but it's an automotive engine creeper, but it also is great for model railroading because when you're building a layout that's 4 foot, 5 foot deep, it's almost as deep as you are tall. It's nice to have something that you can lay on top of that floats over the layout that allows you to reach those back corners without ruining or potentially damaging your scenery, your track, your trains, that sort of thing. And then the final one I actually wanted to point out is actually this little folding mechanics creeper. Now, if your favorite model railroader is currently in the process of wiring their layout, or they're going to be wiring their layout soon, this is a huge time saver. So when you're underneath a layout, you're going to get cramps. It's going to be uncomfortable. Wiring your layout is not usually the most fun job in the world. Granted, this is a hobby, so you do a little bit at a time, but if you can make it a little easier on them, a little safer, that's always a good thing. So this creeper is actually something you can lay down flat on. So if they have a really, really low layout, a layout that's like 30 inches off the floor, you're going to want to lay on the floor while you're wiring, or if you're debugging some kind of electronic gizmo under there, that sort of thing. And then if it's a little bit taller, you can actually fold it up into a Z shape and sit on it, and that'll get you a little bit higher up. So you're working at eye level with the electronics versus, being sitting on the floor and being uncomfortable working over your head, which is never good. And, especially for me, I've got some shoulder and back problems. So the closer I can get myself to the work, the safer I can work. If your favorite model railroader is now doing scenery, or they're going to be doing scenery soon, there's two things I guarantee you can buy that your model railroader is going to appreciate no matter what level of completion they're at. And it is people and trees. Now, keep in mind with trees that if they're modeling the Southwest, you're probably not going to want to buy them spruce trees. You're probably going to want to buy them cactus or something of that nature. So keep that in mind. But otherwise, buying them bulk trees is going to save them a bunch of time. They're going to appreciate it. And when you're building a layout, even a little 4-foot by 8-foot table, you can blow through 100 trees really, really quick. Now, yes, you can make them yourself super, super cheap, but having some pre-made trees around is often nice to go ahead and place a couple around and save a little bit of time, or they can take them and modify them themselves into whatever shape they might need, add a little ground foliage, and poof, they've got some really, really nice trees. And then the second item I said was people. And the one I'm actually going to recommend most out of all of the different things, and keep in mind, I've got horses, I've got cows here, I've got bulk 50-piece sets of people in here, people in canoes. But the one I'm actually going to recommend is the nudist sunbathers. And the reason I say this is because it never fails. No matter what layout I go to visit, what layout I happen to be going through for a tour or whatever it is, the nude sunbathers are always a hit. It's always hilarious. The model railroaders, in particular, the ones that are building them, it never fails. They always have to point it out to their guests. So it's a good little inside joke. And, the figures are half an inch tall. So the kiddos really don't even realize what it is. But it's a great inside joke for adults. And they are, quite frankly, quite affordable. So it's really worth the couple bucks to go ahead and throw those in the stocking for your favorite model railroader. So, and then last but not least with the figures is I actually found figures that for Santa Claus. And this is actually kind of a cool little thing. You can kind of do a Where's Waldo or Where's Wally on your layout and put Santa Claus in a weird place or something. It doesn't have to be a winter scene. It can just be Santa's sitting on the church pew or whatever it might be. But it's also a cute little thing. It's a conversation starter, that sort of thing. And that's one of the things I definitely want you to keep in mind when you're shopping for your favorite model railroader is, this is a hobby. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be exciting and different. It's a way to get your mind off of work. So in this case, that's exactly what these kinds of things do. So the next thing I wanted to recommend, or suggest rather, is magazine subscriptions. Now, your favorite model railroader might already have, a model railroader magazine subscription, but they might not have Model Railroad Craftsman. Or one of my favorites actually is Model Railroad News. Model Railroad News, the nice thing about them is it's literally about what's new in model railroading. So, when Bachmann releases a brand new engine, you guarantee it's going to be in there. So if they like to keep up with what's coming out and get the latest, greatest thing, learn about the new technologies coming out, the latest products, or just want to keep up with what's going on in the hobby, Model Railroad News is a great magazine. Another thing I wanted to point out you might not want to get a subscription, but it might not be a bad idea to grab 1 or 2 copies of the magazines are foreign magazines. So if you live in the United States, you probably have never seen Hornby Magazine or Railway Modeler. These two magazines are out of Europe and Great Britain. And the beauty of these things is it is a way to get new ideas into your head that you might not think about. Because the way Europeans and British folks build model railroads is, and I should say model railways in this case, is very, very different from how Americans, or North Americans, I should say, build model railroads. Now, getting to things that are a little more on the expensive side, and keep in mind, these aren't for everybody, so I am going to go over them quickly. But if your model railroader likes to scratch build, maybe a 3D printer is in order. Now, these two printers that I'm showing you here are actually, they're called resin printers. And the reason why I selected resin printers over filament printer is a resin printer actually prints in more detail. So if you're printing something small or even something large like a locomotive, you want as much fidelity and as much detail in that model as you possibly can get. And these resin printers offer that. So if you are thinking about getting a 3D printer for your modeler, this is not something you should just, quote, surprise them with. This would be something that I recommend that you either know for sure that they are looking into getting for themselves. They've talked about it, they've mentioned it, something like that. Or get them a gift card and say, this is for a 3D printer on it. That way they can select their own. Because one thing you will learn very, very quickly with model railroaders, and particularly your model railroader, because they're all this way, is they are very, very detail oriented and they're very, very picky. I've never met two model railroaders that are exactly alike, but one thing I can say for sure is they're all picky. Now, the last thing I want to cover over here in particular is airbrushing, and the other thing is going to be weathering supplies. So, when you start building a model railroad, you start off and you're buying brand new locomotives and cars and stuff, and they all come with this beautiful paint, and it's exactly how the engine or the caboose or the gondola or whatever it might be came off the factory floor. It's all shiny and perfect. But as we all know, real railroads are not that way. They don't stay pretty. They don't stay clean. They do a lot of work. So one of the first things that people do once, their model railroad is starting to reach completion is they will start working on adding details to their train cars and their locomotives. And one of the first things they'll do when they start digging into this process is they'll start weathering rail cars. So I recommend that you get them some weathering pastels and acrylics. And I've got a couple different varieties here for you on this list. And then if they're getting into a little more detail, it might be actually worth getting them an airbrush tool. Again, like the resin printers, this is going to be something that you either know they have been looking to get, or get them a gift card that has on it, very simply, for an airbrush. So in addition to all the stuff I've already talked about, I did want to mention books. Now, books is one of those things that's usually pretty reliably a good gift, no matter the age of the model railroader, whether they're 4, 8, 60, or 80. If they're modeling the Midwest or something like that, you can find a model railroading book that meets their needs. And in a lot of cases, if they're a huge Chicago Northwestern fan, or a huge Union Pacific, or a huge Pennsylvania Railroad, you can find those specific books on Amazon, no problem. And the pricing on those is going to be wildly different from most of these how-to books that I'm going to recommend. But, the idea is to find something they're going to get some use out of. If they're just starting to wire their layout, it might be worth buying the Easy Model Railroad Wiring book. Now, they might not get every detail they need out of it, but it's going to give them some ideas and places to start, and that's really what this is for. And the nice thing about these books is they hold their value. So once they get done reading them, they make some use out of them, they can trade them to another model railroading buddy for another model, or they can sell them at a train show, or they can keep them on a shelf for reference for the next layout they build, or just they keep around and read once in a while. Now, these books in particular, I've got a couple books in here by Lance Mannheim. He's actually out of Florida, but he does some beautiful modeling. And the guy is just a magician when it comes to building shelf layouts. So I really, really recommend that if you have a model router that's building a small or a narrow layout, a little back and forth layout, it doesn't have loops on the end, I definitely recommend one of his books. However, if your modeler is going to be building a really big model railroader, you've given them the entire basement, maybe the multi-deck model railroading book might be right for them. And then also you've got industry specific books. So I've got one down here that's just for coal railroading. Now coal railroading is one of those things that, if you know anything about the industry, it might seem like it's very, very simple. It's A to B, but there's a lot of stuff in between. There's a lot of detail there. So a book like this is really going to help your model router make sure they make all of those details on their layout appropriately, so their layout looks right, functions right, and it's it's going to be more enjoyable to actually operate in the end. And then one of the ones I'm actually purchasing for myself tonight actually is Modeling Cities and Towns. So model railroading is it's one of those things that a lot of people, it's all about the trains, but at some point those trains go through a town, they go through a city, and you want to make sure you can capture that in detail. So I'm actually going to purchase this to help myself learn a little bit more and hopefully get something out of it. And then my favorite book on this entire list is actually going to be the Steel Mills book, which is actually only $17 right now. But I happen to be a steel mill aficionado, I guess you would call it. So I really enjoy steel mill modeling. I like drawing the track plans for those types of layouts. So this is a book that I actually already do own and I've read a few times. And it is very, very helpful with understanding the basics of how a steel mill works, because they're really their own little layouts. It doesn't have to be part of a larger layout. They can be self-contained. So anyway, I'm not going to go through every single book here, but I wanted to give you a general overview of what it is I have on my my Amazon store. So it just gives you a starting point. It gives you a place to find those gifts that you may not consider. Amazon in particular, with my associates link, for about every $1 you spend, I make about a penny to 3 pennies. So I'm not making tons of money here. But the idea is me spending the time helping you find these things that you need for your layout helps me provide these types of videos for you and everyone else. So it gives me the opportunity to share, my construction process, the things, the tips and tricks I've learned. And quite frankly, I'm not making a whole lot of money here. I've been an Amazon associate for about a year now, and I think I've made about $100. So, I'm not breaking the bank here, but it helps pay for the cameras and the recording equipment. So every penny counts. And, if nothing else, at least click on my link and then order something else on Amazon. It really does help me out a lot, and I do appreciate it. So that said, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell so you are reminded of when I have an update. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.